So, very good afternoon, everyone. We've just begun the afternoon. And it is my privilege and honor to be here in the first session, a panel discussion, with all the industry leaders from a multifaceted background, multifaceted roles, and also industries having significant impact in our journey towards transition. It is indeed a privilege to be part of the 27th ETM, as it has evolved from the RTM to RPTM and to ETM. And on our panel, we have Mr. Prabh ji, who is the CEO of HMEL, Mr. Alok Sharma, who is the Director R&D, Indian Oil, Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Phukan, MD, NRL, Mr. Sanjay Khanna, Director, Refineries, BPCL, Mr. Rajesh Samarth, CEO of CLG, and we have from International Waters, Mr. Norup Olsen, Senior Vice President, Topsoe. So welcome all panelists to this first discussion that we are having today. You know, decarbonizing the industrial manufacturing chain, decarbonizing our refinery sector is a challenge which all our industries face. The manufacturing processes have long driven global economic growth, but they are at a juncture and face a pivotal challenge. And the need for decarbonization is not just from within the regulatory framework of our own INDCs, our own government mandates, our own internal mandates, but also imposed upon many regulatory framework across the globe, which may not be so much in the oil and gas, but in several sectors like steel, impacting the export potential of our companies to the globe. And hence today, as we stand in this juncture, where significant policy framework has been put in place, we are here to innovate, to strategize, and mobilize forward a future where industrial progress does not come to the cost of our dear planet. So let me begin by asking our esteemed panelists, and although there was some order, but I will go in from the left side, from our Director R&D, Indian Oil. Can you share with us and can you share with the audience that what are, and you lead one of the vibrant, innovative R&D centers of the nation who has impact not only in India but overseas as well. What kind of emerging technologies do you see in this refining sector which can actually reduce carbon footprints and also meet the requirement of enhancing sustainability? So, Mr. Alok Sharma.
Thank you, ma'am. I think we heard about the net zero goals. Honorable Minister said regarding the net zero goals of different organizations. So the country is 2070 and different organizations have given their net zero goals. And in this direction, a lot of efforts have been taken, and parallelly there are a lot of push is there from the government, and a lot of mandates are also coming parallelly. A lot of funding is available for demonstration and R&D. So in line with this, at Indian Oil, we have taken a lot of steps, and to achieve the net zero goal, I think there are 5-6, I will say, facets for that to achieve the net zero goal and to decarbonize the industry. The first one will be the energy efficiency, and we are trying to work on various energy efficient processes As well as some of you might have seen regarding the award which we got for the isomerization catalyst. We are working on the products as well as catalyst also differentiated products also. We have developed a product called Extra Green, which gives a 4 to 5% more mileage. Then we have developed green combo also, where we are using the lubricant which also is energy efficient. So our first focus is on the energy efficient products. Then second is on the catalyst side and the process side. We are working on various catalyst development, where we can produce catalysts which are working efficiently and at lower temperatures. As you have seen that isomerization, we have brought down the temperature by about 50 degrees C. Secondly, biofuels, of course, are going to play a critical role, and in this direction, at Indian Oil, we have taken a lot of initiatives, I will say. We have set up the first plant, 2G ethanol plant at Panipat Refinery. Then secondly, we have set up one plant for the refinery of gases to ethanol, which is we call it 3G, which is a fermentation process. And so we are facing some initial hurdles, but we are sure that these technologies will take over in the coming days. And I feel that biofuels and biotechnology is going to play a very critical role. And one of the more example I can give here is that we are working on CO2 capture, and we are trying to use enzyme in this CO2 capture, and that also brings down the temperature of desorption in CO2 capture. So that's also a very new development which is there, and we are now going for the big commercialization of this technology. We are also working on SAF. We are working on the both pathways, HEFA route, which is the for the used cooking oil, hydrogenation, and the second is A2J. We are working on the catalyst development for both of these pathways, and we are also working on the co-processing route for producing the SAF, sustainable aviation fuel, because as per the recent surveys and other PPAC report, which is likely to be issued soon, it is said that ATF is the one which is going to have the maximum jump in the next 20 years, because from the current levels of about 6 to 7 MMTPA, we are going to go up to maybe 40 million metric tons. So, and the second, parallelly, there is a mandate for using SAF is also coming. So we'll have to work towards SAF production, and we are working on with different pathways for production of SAF. We are also working on e-fuels, like we are trying to use CO2, and because we, as you know, that a lot of push is there on the green hydrogen side. So we are trying to work on e-fuels also now, and develop a catalyst for e-fuels by reacting CO2 with hydrogen. And there also we can make SAF, we can make all other products also. As far as hydrogen is concerned, we are working in a big way, and we are trying to develop, because the focus is now on the green hydrogen. As you know that we produce a lot of hydrogen in the refineries through SMR route, but 1 kg of hydrogen emits about 10 kg of CO2. So we are working on the green hydrogen pathways, and electrolysis is of course one of the major pathways. We are trying to develop our own electrolyzers also, and we have reached a certain scale. And then we are working on the fuel cell also, but I think mobility is going to come in the hydrogen at a later stage only. But currently the hydrogen usage is only for the captive part, as we are putting up a big electrolyzers in the refinery also. Indian Oil is setting up 10,000 tons per annum, and so initially the hydrogen will be for the captive use, and later on it will be shifting to the mobility sector also. We are also working on some of the pathways where, like biomass gasification, we are working on biomass gasification to hydrogen. We have developed the process at a scale, and now again we are going for a big scale plant at one of the refineries for producing hydrogen from the biomass gasification. We have also tried to set up one facility for CBG reforming, because again this CBG reforming will also be a green pathway for production of hydrogen. So we are working on CBG reforming to hydrogen also. So various pathways are being worked upon towards energy efficiency, biofuels, hydrogen, SAF, carbon capture, and other things. So this is what I want to say.
Thank you, Alok. As you can see, there is a vast opportunity, not just in the conventional refining technologies, but also in converting these technologies with better efficiency, with better catalysts, with more yields, with lowering of pressures, with optimizing the energy consumptions, and also move into the space of dovetailing the green hydrogen, biomass. So it is an end-to-end, a canvas which is full of opportunities. Thank you, Alok. I will move to Mr. Olsen. And Topsoe has been known all over the globe, and particularly with your stakeholders in the country, a provider of technology which is state-of-the-art, and more than that, of the catalysts that Topsoe is so very famous for. Not just in the refining sector, but also in the ammonia industry all over the globe, which is the largest industry, so as to speak. So, Mr. Olsen, can you share with us what is your role, which is going to play out in future in India's energy transition story? What kind of technologies that you can bring to the platform for our stakeholders here to adopt and to put their investments in?
Yes, thank you very much. And first, I just want to say I fully agree with all the items you listed, and maybe just taking one step back, as India being a country we all follow very closely, huge opportunities. Honorable Prime Minister Modi visited Denmark a little while ago, and he mentioned Denmark has the skills, India has the scale. So what India does has a huge impact on the world. And we're very proud to have been present in India for decades, many decades, and we're very excited about the coming decade at least, and even more so in the future. So what can we bring to the table? Obviously the energy efficiency, many of our technologies encompass the energy efficiency. Electrification is a huge part of India's future, there's no doubt about that, and you could say we don't have much in that space, but when it comes to refineries, we have all the technologies that can bring the refineries to the next step. That includes ESAF for the future through electrolysis. It includes the use of bio feedstocks, waste oils, turning into SAF. We also have technologies, and we're working with Indian companies, and IOCL was the first adopter of it, where we use the sulfur, and not just produce sulfur, but actually produce sulfuric acid, which makes a huge impact also on the energy efficiency in the refinery, and it helps also the self-reliance for India. And my colleagues have told me not to try the Indian, but I think it's Atmanirbhar, or at least something close to that. So we're very proud to be part of that as well. So we're very excited about the future for India and all the technologies we can bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olsen. Really, speaking, one of the only plants for the West sulfuric acid which works at Indian Oil Refinery is an example of a technology which India has adopted. I move on to Mr. Rajesh Samarth, and you also hold a very prestigious portfolio of a variety and a range of technologies. And it has been decades wherein CLG has been, like Topsoe, partners for our Indian industry. What are the emerging technologies in the space of petrochemicals, which is dovetailed with refineries, or a more energy efficient, sustainable refinery of the future? And how do you think the brownfield refineries can integrate them, or how the greenfield refinery projects can also adopt them to make more impactful investments in terms of higher returns?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So it was very good to hear the minister this morning, where he talked about if anyone tells him a date at which fossil fuels are going to end, I applaud the courage of the person. We've been hearing this message lately. The CEO of Aramco came and said something. Today, whatever you say, who produces the most oil in the world? It's United States. Who makes the most oil and gas in the world? It's United States. We just had an election. Elections have consequences. You can imagine what's going to happen over there. So what is it telling us? You look at a number of projects which are going around the world, and a lot of the projects are not moving ahead because of economics. Affordability is important. Economic growth requires affordability. Country like India requires affordable energy. There are lots of fantastic ideas, and I support all of them. The green hydrogen, the blue hydrogen, the ethanol, the methanol, DME, everything coming from renewable, recyclable things, circularity, I support all of that. But let's not forget that there are lots of challenges, and these challenges are economic. In fact, I'll tell you that I like the idea of e-fuels, but it goes against what I learned in thermodynamics when I was doing my chemical engineering. You're making feed from the product. You're going to expend a lot more energy doing that. So what that tells me is we are not going to really have a real sustainable future unless the society is willing to pay a significantly higher cost for energy. Now, that's not going to happen in a decade or two. That's going to happen over a long period of time. And what that means is eventually in our sustainable future, in which we'll be paying a lot of price for that energy, we need a bridge of the fossil fuel. So how the cost of these new fuels is going to be higher. So that has to be underwritten by making profits in your traditional sector. So what I'm going to say over here, I'm going to get a different view over here. I'm going to say that you need to find first sustainability for your existing fossil fuel business. What that requires you to do is you have to get into energy efficiency. You talk about AI, digital, everything you will hear over here. Make your current operations much more profitable so that they can pay for the sustainable future that you aspire to do. Now, beyond that, you need to start doing some incremental additions of these things because nothing changes overnight. When I hear a lot about, electrification is important. Electrification comes from what? It comes from solar, wind, batteries. We need to invest in those technologies. I mean, even in the United States, that's what I say. You cannot depend completely on China for making all the raw materials and all these things and then say that I'm going to have a future in which everything is going to be electrified. So you got to think about that. So, crude to chemicals, this is an important thing. How you reduce the cost of making chemicals. So those are ideas. Now what happens, again I'll say, that some of these ideas are grand ideas. We as CLG offer a crude to chemicals technology. If you look at the entire technology, yes, the entire capex for this is very high. But there are elements of risk that you can employ in your thing to incrementally achieve. So one more thing as an industry we need to look at is all these ideas, how these ideas can be implemented in a stepwise manner. But do not take your eye off of what you do currently, which is your fossil fuels and making chemicals from fossil fuels. If you do well at that, you will have the bandwidth and the money to go after all these grand ideas we're going to hear of going into renewable space. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajesh. So we have a big applaud for the fossil fuels here. Is that how the... So it doesn't look like we are in India, we are in the United States of America. So while I agree in one way that we need to continue to build more capacity, more sustainable capacity, more energy efficient, technology-driven, superior technology into place, into investments in fossil fuels. But at the same time, I would say that we are also bound by the policy framework, the INDCs, and the obligations that as an industry, we have towards building investments for a more sustainable operation. So we need to, I know it's a dichotomy, it is very complex, but as we go along and we see more policy frameworks in place, I quite agree that not all will be sustainable, not all of it will get an ROI, but we need to keep that into our horizon, into our vision also. So we heard the technology players and the technology movers onto the left of the stage. Let me move on to the right of the stage, wherein we have investors and we have owners who look at projects with a perspective of taking decisions to invest billions of dollars and thousands of crores. So let me first address Director Refinery, BPCL, Mr. Sanjay Khanna. BPCL has undertaken large-scale projects, and with the wisdom of expanding both in the refinery and the petrochemical space, how do you foresee the integration of the emerging technologies and the gamut of innovations which are happening in all fields? How would you look at dovetailing these interventions into both the brownfield as well as greenfield projects to drive the sustainability aspects of these project investment, and also at the same time support the dimension of energy transition?
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks for the question. And at the outset, first let me thank CST and IOC for giving this opportunity. Coming to the question, I distinctly remember 4 years back when COP26 has come, and now, right now, COP29 is going on. I must say that lot thing has changed. That time, oil and gas industry was almost like written off, sunset industry, all norms were there. But I think in these 4 years, we have established that, yes, here it is going to stay. Energy transition, sustainability is must. We can't compromise. We have to take care of mankind. Definitely it is must. But at the same time, we have to meet the growing demand of energy, and there has to be a very fine balance between the two. With that background, we had taken future refinery expansion and the mega petchem project for us. Let me share with you that what are the key things are happening in that arena. You heard the other side of story. Let me see that. Let me share what is actually happening in the plant area. The first and foremost, I think one thing which is coming up in a very big way is the digitalization of the whole process. Today, it has been established that whatever human could have thought of, whatever think and feel, look, learn and feel was that feeling can be demonstrated through the digital way. And this is what is being, today when we are conceptualizing the project, be it the safety part or the material management, project progress or safety, human productivity, you name a thing, and everywhere you are having very, very effective digital solutions are there. That brings lot of transparency and better accountability. So I will say that for the future project, when we are conceptualizing digital way of handling the whole project management is a thing. And along with our partner EIL, we are planning to, it is our very, very ambitious plan to go in a big way. One. Second is that, great use of AI and ML. Even though on the face of it, it may look like, it is extension of digitalization, but I feel we have a lot more to be done in this particular field. Last week only when we were in discussion, and we came to know that so much of things are happening. In every quarter when you meet the different team, you get to know so many things are happening in the field of reliability, energy efficiency improvement, monitoring, or maybe the preventive and predictive maintenance. You name a thing, and here are people with the capability who can transform your vision into the action. And it is not only for sake of doing it, you can see the monetary benefit out of it. So that is the point number 3. Third is that as we are going for the big project, it is essential that we built in lot more flexibility. We never know when the prices will go in which direction, when the gas price will go, rooftop, or when will come to the bottom down. Those things are not in our control. What is in our control? Whether my units are capable of handling whichever best way is happening. When we had a very cheap crude available, couple of years back, we were saying we can't do more than 5% or 10% crude. But when people saw the benefit, they came out with a way how I can process it more and more and to get the maximum benefit. And they had a monitoring mechanism to handle those tough crude. Similarly, now when we are going for mega project, we are ensuring the gas become very, very integral part of our Bina refinery. That's the point number 3. And one more thing which is going to happen in a big way for project is the modularization and the standardization. I think that is another aspect which will help us for the effective execution of project for the future sustainability? Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. Um, Definitely, digitalization, modularization, bringing innovative tools to project management, to contract management, contractor management, holds the key for effective project implementation. And I thank BPCL for trusting us, and we hope together we can actually showcase this project as an example of a highly successful implementation. I move on to MDNRL, Mr. Bhaskar Jyoti Phukan. You have two buckets of technology implementation. One is the project in the conventional space, plus you're also, as part of a joint venture, implementing the projects in sustainable energy as well, and the second generation bioethanol project at Numaligarh. How do you find the difference in the two sectors in terms of project implementation? And are there any solutions which your experience can bring onto the table to overcome challenges and make a more sustainable impact on these investments?
Thank you, ma'am. And thank you, CST and IOCL, for giving this forum to me. I'll just start by agreeing to Mr. Rajesh and Mr. Khanna that you first have to leverage what you have. That means you squeeze out a maximum from what you have by virtue of efficiency improvement, and digitization is the way out. But there is a caveat. See, often we digitize without knowing what we are digitizing. So you have to be very, very careful what you are digitizing. Everywhere digitization need not be done. You also have to do an ABC analysis where maximum is supposed to be accrued out of that digitization or automation or AI implementation, ML implementation. We have to be very, very careful. I assure you, our refinery people are not very competent to find out where actually digitization has to be done. Some collaboration is the need of the hour today. As an individual, I have been running from pillar to post to find out where actually our priorities are. See, we have set our priority to maximize what you have. I think we have to focus on reliability from number 1 to 10. Reliability brings everything, including energy efficiency. So you have to go where the reliability is increasing by investment. See, even the Solomon benchmarking study has said that Indian refiners are not too good at the reliabilities. So we are still just below the world benchmark. So this is one area, and I will come to Madam's question. See, NRL as a company have started looking at both the scenarios, because on a long term we have to sustain. And we have to sustain by making our expanded refinery nimble. In the opening session, Honorable Minister has said that the capability of the refiners to produce different products should be built in when they are planning their expansions. So that is where we are focusing, as was told, that ATF will be the big thing in the volume as well as sustainability point of view. ATF will be the product to look at. Now, to produce ATF from the existing refinery, you have to have the leads left so that you can sway your way from not producing more diesel, but producing more ATF. So those are the things that we have planned in our expanded refinery. We have built in some flexibility wherein we can immediately sway from producing more diesel to producing more ATF. This is one part of the story. Second part of the story is the biofuel that we are investing in. See, there are plenty of bamboo available over there. So we thought that why not utilize this bamboo available for production of ethanol. That is where invested. But investment has gone a little bit higher. So therefore, our margins may come under pressure. Therefore, we started looking at the additional ways of value addition. I am just giving you one example. See, when you are chipping the bamboo, you are producing a lot of dust, bamboo dust. So what we are planning to do, we are converting this bamboo dust through the process of pyrolysis to biochar. and further trying to convert this biochar into activated carbon. This stream of valorization was not there when we had initially designed the plan. So therefore, we'll keep on looking at the additional valorization, including the lignin valorization part of it. So therefore, the refinery, the bio refinery that we have started, it will start producing perhaps with the grace of the God, with a full capacity by say January end. But we are trying to produce first bit of ethanol by end of this month itself. And maybe the balance of the plant will be ready by end of December or middle of January, and we will be in the full stream by middle of January or end of January, like that. So with that stream coming, we will have ethanol, and along with ethanol, we will also produce something called furfural and also acetic acid. And we will also have power coming from the same plant. So this is the overall plan for our biorefinery thing. And with ethanol coming, and ethanol can be blended with whatever MS that we produce on premise itself. So that will actually reduce some of the carbon intensity of the fuel that we produce. So this is the overall scenario under which we are making the investments, madam.
Thank you, Bhaskar. I'll just add two more things to it, please. On the digitalization piece, I would like to share that our company has recently collaborated with AI Detect, which is a company with, which is helping us support our construction activities. And the first of the systems have been installed in the P25 unit for enhancing the safety culture. And we hope to do that in the projects which we will take up as we go along. And I would just like to add on the biofuel also, one aspect on the capability of the Indian manufacturers and the supply chain for the equipments is very unique in the biofuel area, particularly because we are handling very different kind of metallurgy that we do not handle in the refinery sector. When we look at titanium, the practices, the complete supply chain, which has been very uniquely developed for this second generation ethanol. That is another challenge which, technologies in the space of bio actually face. I will move on to CEO HMEL, Mr. Prabh ji, who runs a very successful joint venture project and very successful joint venture refinery, which is always forward-looking into different products and more investments. Can we know from you, with your experience, that how can refining industry support the country's transition goals, and what is it that in particular can help to achieve the net zero emission targets?
Hello. I thought the last question will be very simple, but you have made a very complicated question. So let me start with the refineries. Morning we had two things at a time. Our capacity will increase up to 450 million ton. At the same time, we heard 1 million barrel per day refineries are going to close down in Europe. Two things at a time. Which refinery closes down? Which is the weakest refineries, they closes down. The most profitable refinery will certainly survive. And I will like our refineries to be most sustainable refinery. And we are competing with not European refineries, we are competing with Chinese refineries, we are competing with Middle East refineries. They have advantage. They have advantage, feedstock and various other advantage. We are importing crude. Now, our challenge is much bigger than their challenges. It's all question of our survival. And we have to do something to survive and then to improve. So how do we survive? Make efficiency. That will also solve your climate problem and carbon dioxide problem. I was wondering, I'm the least qualified person in this hall as far as refineries are concerned, but I asked a simple question, My turnover, my 10 million ton refinery turnover 90,000 crore, fuel 10%, 9%, 8%, depending on, how efficient you are. I'm burning 8,000 crore rupees every year. I'm burning 8,000 crore rupees. Are we the most efficient? I ask my people, why do you have this, air coolers? Why do you have this, cooling towers? To waste heat in the air. We stop everything. Can we? We have got all the technologies, everybody. Why do you have all these cooling towers to throw the heat in the air? At least we'll save 2%, 16,000 crore. That's the one way I'm looking for. We have done something in HMEL. I mean, everybody must be doing. It's not that, we are the unique people. We have that, low heat, what do you call? Huh? Low grade heat. We have some compressors or some, generators where we will generate electricity through the, the heat which is being wasted. But everybody is doing. But it's a huge thing. Let's work on that. Let's work on reducing fuel. Losses are hardly anything. You will achieve much more efficiency than increasing your productivity by few percent. So that's the survival question. It's not that it's the thing which is given to us and we should be feeling happy. The second, lot of talk about digitization here. I don't know how many of you have gone a course in AI, ML, and digitization. Raise your hand. I have gone through a course. I got a startup giving and teaching me about the digitization, and 700 people out of 2,000 people in the company has gone the course on digitization, MI, AI. Our mindset. We have to change our mindset. If you change our mindset, you learn something, it's very simple. I'll give you an example, it's so simple. We have a CFBC boiler. You put petcoke, and petcoke gives a lot of sulfur dioxide emission, so you have to put a lime. And there is a fine balance between lime and petcoke so that we don't pollute. And there was always a system, we were putting lime, and we were putting little extra lime so that, we are always safe. And then our people, we didn't get high-tech people, our own people invented. They put this AI system, and they control the emission, the addition of lime, depending on what's going to go after 15 minutes. 25 crore is the saving which we did. Again, CFBC, one more example, then, we talk many things, but, 2 examples. The petcoke, you can't put it like that. You have to grind it. There are balls, roll it, and you get a particle in that. If the particle is big, it will not burn properly. If the particle is small, it will again be a bit. So you have to have a precise size of the particle which is going into CFBC boiler. We put a camera to find out, what type of thing is going. If it is big, ball mill will run more. If it is powder, then they will run less. You make a closed loop system, you get money. Simple. So there are many things. It's not that only CFBC boiler. There is something called, I know nothing, so I wrote it down. Real-time optimizers in CDU unit. The payback, 2 years, investment 6 crore. Just multiply how much money we are making every year. In FCC, we put advanced analytics, payback period, 4 months, investment 4 crore. Our target is to make at least 200 crore extra every year. This is AI. It's not rocket science. It's the one which you and I can do. So that's the thing I wanted to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. I think the effect is more impactful when we keep things simple and we look at things simply and look at the low-hanging fruits and look at these tools in actual practice with a case study, which you have so eloquently shared, and I think we've got everybody excited on the simple but very impactful interventions bringing returns to the existing refinery. I think we have about 10 to 15 minutes or so. Okay, so one small question to everyone we will ask. And a very good point. I mean, it's the Darwinian theory essentially. Only the fittest survive. So we have to keep ourselves fit and keep ourselves abreast to the trends, to the technology, such that we continue to grow and continue to expand our footprints. So I will go back to Director R&D Indian Oil, and maybe in short we can have these second round answers. We heard the role of digitalization in a very big way. And also, do you have any other solutions which we can take forward in terms of innovation? Because the hardcore R&D in catalyst products is one aspect, but the products in digitalization space can also impact the reduction of emissions. So any thoughts on those, Alok?
Ma'am, I think, as already said, the digitalization is going to play a critical role. And so digitalization can be used for data collection, it can be used for data processing, it can be used for data monitoring, and like flare also can be monitored from this, and process optimization, energy efficiency, even for the hydrogen production, people are talking to use AI now. And some of the examples where Indian Oil has taken initiatives, I can just mention here. And we have done, there is an integrated planning tool which enhances how to select the crude. I think most of the people are using, but this is one of the things which is very important and we are using it. Then heat exchanger predictive scheduler is also there. We are using that also. Then advanced analytics based digital twins for specific refinery units like CRU, RON and FCCU. So these are the things which we are using, the digital twins. We are also using energy monitoring dashboard and analytics tools. To monitor the energy use end to end basically, and fuel and loss and other things. We are also using data analytics to define our flare operations, as I told. And we are also using robotics tank cleaning and leakage detection boards for that, basically for the tanks. So these are some of the initiatives which we have taken, and though I'm not an expert on the digitalization, so these are some of the thoughts basically which we have.
Thank you, Alok. So all our companies are in some manner putting digitalization as one of their agendas to both their existing operations, to project implementation, as well as going forward even to their supply chain management in terms of crude sourcing, products, etc. I move on to Mr. Olsen. Now, you mentioned some of the technologies for SAF, for other waste utilization. Can you explain to us, so there are some challenges which our nation will face, which will be different to the challenges which the developed countries would face. How do you see the difference between the two, and how do you think in the future the technologies that Topsoe has developed will find place in the country, particularly with respect to waste, with respect to sustainable technologies?
Yes, thank you very much. Of course, very complex, and we could probably talk about that for hours. Try to keep it very, very short. Obviously, the waste oils are a global market, so it is difficult and relatively expensive. However, I think India has a unique opportunity in many ways. Right now, co-processing is starting in India. I think that's the lowest hanging fruit of them all. And I think you in India also have opportunities for electrification, huge resources for solar, as the minister said earlier today. So I think in the future there will be many ways to utilize the resources of India. But again, starting from the lowest hanging fruits, I would say co-processing, and used cooking oil is the easiest resource to get hold of. But of course we have technologies to process also more complex feedstocks.
Thank you. Yes, as Honorable Minister mentioned, the refinery sector is poised, already invested to grow the capacity to 310 million and going forward to 400 to 450 million with an amalgamation of the conventional as well as the technologies in the bio area. Rajesh, I would like to ask you, you mentioned COTC. how would COTC find a place in the investments which will happen in our country to bridge that gap of the demand and the way some of the products are growing in the country, some of the products are likely not to have that kind of growth, aviation fuel being, gasoline being there, but diesel having challenges in terms of growth in their demand. So how do you see COTC figuring into these configurations in the future?
So one good thing about petrochemicals is that the demand is there. And the reality is that we will eventually become sustainable in a manner that the fuels will be more coming from some sustainable source, but it makes much more sense to keep on making petrochemicals from oil, basically. So one way of looking at it is that, in a way, you're not taking that carbon from the oil and you're not releasing that as CO2 in the atmosphere, but you're trapping that in a petrochemical. But once you make those petrochemicals, you have to find out a way to recycle. So circularity is very important. Now, traditional way of making oil, petrochemicals, it depends on the price of naphtha. And you keep on going that up and down. So it all depends on the economics of the refining. So what crude to chemicals, and there are different versions of it, we offer these thermal crude to chemicals. What that does is by integrating these things much more closely, the intent is that the percent production of the petrochemicals is not in the small 15, 20% or 30, 40, but you actually push it to something like 70% plus. If you do that, then you can find so many gains in CapEx and OpEx that's what is going to make your production of the petrochemicals much more profitable than everyone else who's just dependent on that. Now again, let's talk about a couple of things. That crude to chemicals, when you're doing from oil to chemicals, that's really for people who don't have that much access to ethane. If you talk about ethane cracking hands down is at any time cheaper than when you do naphtha cracking. So what I want to say is that energy intensification is a way to drive down the CapEx as well as the OpEx. However, the challenge, and I will admit it, the challenge is that there is significant investment required for you to put it. So when that's a challenge, the best way for many of the refiners is actually do incremental investment and bring the refining and petrochemical sites together. And one more thing I want to point, that finally the chemistry is something that we know. When we try to find energy efficiency, that's one thing, but the new innovation really has to happen around catalyst. It's catalyst that does a couple of things. Number one, it allows you to make something in a more energy efficient manner by reducing the activation energy. And the second thing is that the catalyst is something that allows you to take some low value feedstocks which actually have a lot of contaminants, which are problems to the process. So that innovation in catalyst for more robust catalysts where you can take lower value feedstocks has to continue.
Thank you, Rajesh. Indeed, that will definitely bring in more kind of both on the technology front as well as looking at catalyst front to enhance our operational excellence. I have one quick question from you, Sanjay. How do you see, you mentioned that's about circular economy, and how can you see your refineries or Indian refineries looking at optimizing of resources and utilizing waste to create a more environment of circularity in the refineries?
Let me restrict my answer to the example which has happened in the refinery. A few years back when we used to clean our tank, crude oil tank, and the huge amount of material used to get dumped, or then subsequently it started undergoing the treatment where the enzymes were put, and it was a huge cost. Today we are having solution available wherein the maximum part of the oil from this residue is again getting recovered, and the residue is left to very, very small amount which required to be treated. That is the one example I wanted to share with this August gathering. A lot of things is being done on the water recycle. I'm very proud to say that our Bina is absolutely zero liquid discharge, and they have done a commendable job in the recovery of water. Another arena where through the integration between the three refineries, we could do a lot of optimization on the material. It was a norm that 5 to 10% material used to get, wasted. But with the good integration between the three refineries and the bringing a good monitoring ways, we could reduce this material wastage to great extent. Flare recovery was a norm, it's a 5-year-old norm, but a lot is being done further, how to bring it down to the barest minimum. So these are the few examples of circularity where the losses could be reduced to great extent. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjay. May I continue on the same question to MD NRL Bhaskar? What, in your view, are the technologies which can reduce waste? And are you actually seeing any movement on those in your existing or new refinery?
Ma'am, must have heard a lot of discussion on CBG. The CBG, actually, we take care of the municipal solid waste, the biodegradable part of it. What happens to the other portion? See, people are producing refuse-derived oil, that is RDF, and primarily those are being consumed by the cement industries. So, but there is a limit to which those can be consumed. What remains, earlier there was a movement of converting those, particularly the plastic waste, into oil. That in between, I think that lost momentum in between, but it is again coming back. I have started receiving queries, people are interested to convert that oil. We were looking at where this oil can be processed. Fortunately, we have embarked onto Petro FCC in the new refinery, and that is the destination for that particular oil. So that is best treated up to, I think we have done a very rough calculation, up to 20% of oil can go. Probably we may need a cat cooler because there will be more of coke in that feed. So people who are having FCC or PFCC can accommodate some of this plastic to oil kind of feed. And as far as UCO is concerned, you know the pathway is very popular nowadays. So UCO, I think, has a lot of destination. But at least if I can take care of the non-biodegradable and the plastics, it will also indulge in circularity, because from PFCC, again, you will produce polypropylene. So that becomes one full cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just like to add the ammonia recovery, that one of the wastes which jointly we are implementing with Numaligarh, which is converting the ammonia which we typically burn in the SRU to actually cryogenic ammonia or ammonia for refrigeration. Is another target by Solomon Associates to manage waste. So I think the last question to Mr. Prabh Das ji, you have been both on the governance side as well as on running a very successful enterprise. Although every investment has to be with a sound number at the bottom in terms of return, but how would you suggest policy reforms which can actually help India implement as well as accelerate this energy transition and encourage these practices? Some of them are already in place, like the Satat scheme, Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana, solar mission, green hydrogen mission. They are already in place. How do you see them transforming, and can you suggest any improvements or any additions to those?
Thank you. Thank you for this, wide question again. So let's understand energy in India. 870 million ton of energy we consume every year. 870 million ton of oil equivalent is the energy consumed in a country every year. 56% is coal. That be very straight. 56% is coal, 26% oil, 6% gas, renewable 6%. With 200 gigawatt of solar power and 70 gigawatt of wind, the energy given is 51 million ton of oil equivalent. 7%, 8% growth, 4% energy growth, nobody can deny that. 4 to 5% growth requires 40, 50 million ton of oil equivalent energy every year extra. So now you have all options open. Oil is going to remain. you require 40 to 50 million ton of oil equivalent energy every year for next 47 years. 47 we are going, up to 47 we are thinking. How do you get this energy? That's the question. The answer is very simple. Refinery have to come. Refinery have to grow. They have become more efficient. So our job is safe, no problem. But let's come to what we can do. We always think that renewable energy is somebody else's job. And we do incremental. I was seeing various projections of all oil marketing companies. We think 5 gigawatt is a big thing. 10 gigawatt is a still bigger thing. We require, and 1 gigawatt of solar means, or say 100 gigawatt of solar means nearly 30 million tons of oil equivalent, 1/3. Okay. So you require hundreds of gigawatt of solar to just meet the incremental demand. And what are we putting? Oil companies just go back and see 10 gigawatt, 15 gigawatt, 5 gigawatt, Are we not competent to do this solar? If we can make a refinery petchem, solar is the easiest thing to put in place. New players are coming. They are talking hundreds of gigawatt. Why can't we talk about hundreds of gigawatt? What stops us is the money, is the land, the floating solar are the in thing. I will request that, go back home, find out, how much gigawatts are you putting, just multiply 10 times. That's the way we can meet the country's energy requirement, and there is a money in that. There is a money. I'm not talking that there is no return. There is a return in that. Please go back and find out, and that's the thing I would like everybody to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have already exceeded about 10 minutes of our time, and we'd like to close here. And I would like to thank all the esteemed leaders here who have expressed their views very eloquently. Indeed, our industry is very vibrant. It is rich with experience, yet willing to innovate, be flexible, be engaging to get partners globally, and also take challenging decisions, business decisions, as well as decisions to innovate in R&D and adopt technologies to make our investments more successful, fast track, as well as implement the projects towards that direction. So with that, I think, are in safe hands, and the industry is bound to grow leaps and bounds, not only in the conventional space of refining and petrochemical, but also adopt a lot of technologies and a lot of innovations to make sure that our assets are fully utilized with the low-hanging fruit of energy efficiency, get the role of digitalization in a much vaster manner into all segments of our operation, look at catalyst technologies, policy, and I think this is a vast canvas and the discussion can go on for hours. So at the end, I would thank CHT for having this panel discussion organized, and compliments to CHT for such a successful ETM. And thank you all, and a big round of applause to our esteemed panelists.
Thank you so much. I think this calls for a bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, please. What an insightful panel. Thank you so much.